without further ado, I'm going to pass over to our next Placemakers project to be presented, which is Take Flight with Soar Collective. So we'll ask whoever's taking the first sort of step from them to share screen, and we'll look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Oh, we're on. Hi.
Hiya. Okay, just sharing screen, share sound. Our internet connection is unstable. That's always useful.
Yeah, often the case. Maybe like make that just a wee.
Oh yeah,
wee single guy.
There we go.
Oh, hide it. No, that's the wrong share.
Oh no, sorry.
Present.
Okay.
Cool. So hi, we are Jeannie, Amy and Giles. We live on the Isle of Jura and we come together as SOAR, a collective of islanders who make stuff, positive experiences, stories, creative opportunities and a place for everyone. We began the Placemakers programme with the intention of developing an arts collective and pilot programme of experiences and workshops on Jura and surrounding islands and networks. So as you can see here, that's our original proposal from the application, and our intention was to nurture creativity amongst the collective and show Jura as a creative place and a place where creativity can be sustained. Whee! So we began with some basic creativity, skill sharing amongst just the three of us in a mini pinhole camera workshop in the back of Giles's pickup, Land Rover. Upskilling amongst us and reviving a creative bond that, you know, COVID had kind of kept us apart. So yeah, we were reviving. This is Amy. Sorry.
That's all right. We developed our visual output and collective identity, beginning the combination of slow practice and social media using pinhole photographs as profile pictures. So ultimately, the pandemic presented ways of working that were slower, and this mirrored what many people value about island life. So you hear quite a lot of the time the pace of life. So born from this was an approach that we wanted to celebrate as practitioners and really, take hold of that as an approach, really. So the first thing that we did as a threesome, one of the first things that we did as a threesome was the Dropbox. So the Dropbox is a sharing tool for SOAR Island Collective, a literal box that is equally distant from each of our addresses that we drop items into for consideration. We wanted to keep going with the idea of translating the new age back into a physical experience, considering a fairly basic approach to using what we know now to navigate the future. So we've been thinking a little bit about, or I've been thinking about a little bit about the term placemaking and maybe thinking about it more of a place being kind of thing. So we already have a place layered in history and memories that old and new members of the community work from to feel at home. That's not to say that people that are part of a community don't continue to make it what it will be, but rather that people need to be present in a place with all of its memories. They need to be in that place and participate meaningfully for themselves in a community for the making to then happen. So the Dropbox has given the collective a platform for thinking about what dialogues we could be having that will help to nourish our individual and collective sense of belonging in a place. A critical part of the Dropbox is that each of us can only access it on foot, what with it being located on the hill. So this felt appropriate to us as we individually enjoy the outdoors and live active lifestyles. In order to access the Dropbox to either upload or download, we have to engage in an act of self-care. So we each have to take some time to move and allow space for the unconscious to knit thoughts together. Part of our job is to be in the landscape and to take the time to digest or let the puzzle pieces of the mind come together. This is time that many of us have lost as we have moved into the digital age, jumping straight into the next Zoom call or answering a constant stream of emails. But this also spells out an importance of working with the environment in our own community and how this could lead to healthier and happier participants.
Oh, sorry.
So another part of our pilot program was a pop-up cafe. So we called it the Lay-by Cafe. And in an article that I read in the Guardian, it was called The Social Biome and How to Build Nourishing Friendships. And in that, they quoted, just as you need a mix of food groups on your plate, you need a mix of modes of communication and types of relationship in your social diet. So as COVID guidelines started to become less restrictive, we wanted to gently come back into a community space, not with big and complicated ideas, but with good coffee and cheerful chat. So I've also been reading a book called The Compassion Project, which is a project undertaken in Frome to help prevent and treat loneliness. And in it, they observe that the development of easy places where people can come and just have a casual chat has played a crucial part in bringing back the heart into the town. And that for some individuals, it feels like it has literally saved their life. So I felt that this really resonated, particularly after having had 18 months without the usual community events. This was about creating a space where we could all exercise our casual chatting skills, and also a place where we could practice small moments of compassion face to face for overall community health. So this was an opportunity to connect with others outside our immediate community. We contacted Argyll coffee roasters, Tidy Tea and CT Kerala to ask if they would like to sponsor the cafe, and they obliged, sending us lots of their homemade produce. This helped us meet our values as conscious consumers, but also promote other islanders' practice. So this got us thinking a bit more deeply about engagement in places like Jura. So there's an understanding that participatory art lies on the edge of the art world. And places like Jura are often described as being on the edge. We often talk about the intersections of practice being the richest places, i.e. where the differences connect, and where we come up with unique ideas. So playing with this idea that the passing place is the meeting space, we were not disappointed. So with people either on their way to the ferry, to Isla, or to Craighouse, which is the main village on Jura, most people would pull in and grab a coffee and have a chat with us. Some people came especially, meeting others that they didn't plan to meet. Some people stayed for over an hour. Others would just stop and say a quick hello. Some days we would only have a single person come by. And it struck us that what we were really doing was mirroring the ancient practice of actually taking the time to stop and talk to someone as they pass by, but adding in a platform to encourage this to be natural again. Islanders have always been rather notorious for holding up traffic on single track roads as they have a quick catch up with someone going in the opposite direction. And this was a way of honouring both the pace and place of life. So this is our interactive poster.
So yeah, as you can see there, we kind of keep everything pretty light-hearted and pretty easy to understand there. So we began to engage with the community members with simple creative tasks. As you can see here, we've got a little colouring thing that was part of an activity pack that we made and included these fortune tellers that posed questions. And the idea was to get creative juices flowing and see what the community might want from us. So we saw success, as Amy has said, in the relaxed conversational atmosphere of the cafe. And during this, we were developing our network of local producers. As you can see, Dunedin Goes Pop, co-placemates, using them to promote a conversational atmosphere and show what is being made in the local areas. With our Dunedin Goes Pop, we carried out taste test videos that were really successful, like just off the cuff. We had little videos of people tasting the syrups, which engaged the community through the lens of film. And that seemed to be really easy for people and created a fun and relaxed atmosphere. So reflecting on the ever-changing context of our practice, We used our existing network with the external input funding to reach out to Screen Argyll and curate Tailwind Film Weekend. Screen Argyll were able to secure more funding for us to realise the full potential of a mini film festival. We curated a weekend of films and activities around the theme of time travel and significant societal change to reflect on what's happened to our society in the last 18 months. And the films were shown on Jura and in Argyll and other islands as well. So as we were showing Back to the Future, we hosted a build your own time machine workshop, complete with a very simple kit. All you need is some cardboard, a sprinkle of imagination, and some sticky stuff. We had more visitors than locals at the workshop. They had a wonderful time, but this led us to reflect on who uptakes what workshops we do and how to adjust our communications for whichever audience we are seeking to connect to. We continued our comfortable atmosphere into the weekend, filling the Jura Hall with sofas, comfy chairs, and twinkly lights. It was catered for by local businesses, the Island Bakehouse and the Antlers, and we had a great time strengthening our networks, as you can see with Amy and Jack chilling in the pub there, and introducing them to our home community. People have told us that they felt at home and relaxed at the movies. It was great to have everyone back in the Jura Hall, which is a complete hub of activity normally, and obviously it's been closed for the last 18 months. So yeah, it was a really safe space, and we were specifically told about This Week Kids by This Week Kids' mum, who is showing us the time machine that he built there. And she said to us that in another situation, he might not have spoken publicly about his time machine, but because he knows us and he felt so comfortable in that situation, he made a great wee display, and we had a little chat that really cheered up the whole audience. So it kind of shows the vibe, the importance of atmosphere. As part of a discursive activity, we rifled through the Jura Jottings archives, which is our local newspaper, and brought them along to the movies to encourage chat about what is newsworthy and how communication methods have changed. People received this task really well, and were trying to take the books home with them. It also inspired conversations about how we use social media in place of these community communication streams, and whether that's better or worse, like what would be more appropriate. So as our cinema tickets, each guest received a postcard addressed to their future selves. Having had little success with our previous My Story postcard exchange, we realised a key to community engagement is our encouragement. So we had great response to the Future Me postcards, like everybody filled them out right there. They were really thoughtful about what they were putting in it. And yeah, we realised people were energised by the event, and especially because they had us there to explain the concept in person.
And they'll receive their future postcard in the future.
In the future. We time travelled on the night of the event, and we've actually already delivered them to them in a year from now. So yeah, our pièce de résistance of the weekend was creating a short film, Forward to the Past, a time-travelling adventure with Marty McPie, which we will show you after our presentation. We had local kids, the school teacher, and some extremely sophisticated special effects. The audience loved it, we all loved making it, and the community had a great sense of participation, as they told us, we're not just guessing. As you will see in the film on the next slide by our wonderful collaborators, Jen Skinner and Jack Lockhart of Screen Argyll. Yeah, we'll show you, it sums up the weekend. So is a collective of creative practitioners on the Isle of Jura.
This has been a short film festival called Tailwind, bringing people back into the hall and showing this series of films that had some kind of a theme about them that could stimulate a bit of conversation. And quite a lot of the programme has been about change, or about the ability to kind of journey back and forth in time and think about events and whether we change them or not.
Last night we had Back to the Future, the classic time-travelling adventure. and we had a premiere of our short film that we made over the course of the last week. We had some activities alongside it, so we started off last week doing a DeLorean making workshop, build your own time machine out of a cardboard box. And then alongside films like Goodbye Lenin and The Edge of the World, we also dug up some of the archives of our local newsletter, the Jura Jottings.
The tickets for Tailwind that everyone had doubled up as a postcard to their future self. A highlight for me has been the reaction to the film Forward to the Past, and everyone just found it hilarious and they were clapping, and it was just really, really beautiful to kind of be a part of that.
So yeah, a little bit emotional watching that.
I know.
So is a collective to Giles to summarise briefly, I think, because we're running out of time.
Good. Hello. Thank you very much, Amy and Jeannie. Well, there's not a lot left for me to say, actually, because all the notes that I've got here, they've just kind of whizzed through them. But I think just to point up, really, what we had these aims which are kind of here as the proposed outcomes in a way, things that we hoped that we were going to achieve. And we did this using these various means that you've seen, like the pop-up cafes, this idea of slow interaction, which I guess, if you're in my generation, I'm quite old now, then that's sort of harking back to a life that we remember, and possibly is more, has a lot more novelty to it for younger people. And in fact, chatting to people at the film festival who were 17 were really baffled by the idea that information only came via one channel on the TV and things like that. So we think we've had quite a lot of success doing this. We've networked with businesses and small and medium enterprises in Argyll. We've managed to introduce to Jura the notion that there's a locally engaged creative and arts group, which is a functioning economic entity as well, and not voluntary. And so we've got a professional and community facing aims and objectives. And as part of a lot of developments in the early part of the project, we developed our own manifesto and mission statement as a collective. And that involved a lot of exploring ideas and potentials, both with Michael Johnson and ourselves as a collective, adopting some of the tools, software tools like Miro, which Michael had introduced us to. I think it's important to say that it's not all about a kind of mutual back-patting exercise. There are definitely things about this which have been successful, but there are also areas where we really know that we could develop further and enhance what we're doing, or improve what we're doing, and try and address things which maybe didn't work so well. As Ginny said, we had this idea of a My Story mailbox where people would put things into a mailbox that would be akin to a Facebook communication. And we were trying to trail this and get people to adopt it using the local newspaper, the Jura Jottings, and using Facebook. And it really didn't take off. Whereas when we were able to hand people these postcards saying, write a message to your future self, and we will use our time traveling technology to to bring this to you. You'll actually get it from us in a year's time, but we're going to jump in our time machine in a minute and take it to you. That really kind of captured people's imaginations, and we've got a whole slew of messages that people have sent to their future selves, which we've got to deliver next year. Well, that's a spoiler. We've delivered them already, but in the future. So there was definitely a difference between using what felt like remote ways of engaging people and doing things face to face. Elementary in some ways if you've done a lot of workshops, but there we are. We also probably set targets for this place project that we've done in how we pitched it that probably were too soon. We've got stuff that we still need to address that we hoped to have done during this project. We've built really encouraging relationships with our audience on Jura, which was a very important thing for us to do. But there hasn't been so much opportunity to take it further afield to Islay and Colonsay, for example, which are immediate neighbours. And that's really got quite a lot to do with the restrictions that were imposed by the pandemic. But also we needed to concentrate quite a lot on developing our confidence and working methods just on Jura. It was great, however, to link up with Screen Argyll. So we feel like we've made another island connection. And that was a real strategic success in adopting them as the external collaborator that we were offered as part of this package for the Microclusters project. And then finally, before we just wrap up, one of the other things that really we spent quite a lot of time thinking about is the language that we use about what we do and how that affects our audience. Right now, today, there's a lot of jargon going on. There's a lot of jargon in the conversations that are had in environments like this. We use a lot of shortcuts and a lot of insider terminology to make conversations happen more quickly, I think. But what we realize is that you've got to rethink, adapt, and often unpack actually what some of these things mean. Like, what is an asset? What is an offer? And communicate some of this more effectively to your audience. And we're learning about that and enjoying taking a more relatable and pragmatic approach to explaining what we do. Hopefully without taking away from the inspiration that we hope we are able to inject into life around us on the island. So I think that kind of summarizes what we've got from doing this and what we think we've achieved. We'd like, if you'll bear with us, we'd like to show you the entire movie that we made for the Tailwind Festival, which is called, yes, Forward to the Past. You join future island adventurer Marty McPie some point in the future, and you see him take his journey through time. And it was an enormous amount of fun to make, as Jeannie and Amy have said. It was done in the space of 3 days, and that was devise, shoot, edit. Everything that you see in it is produced on the island, and that also includes all of the music, and we're very proud of it. So without further ado, if you can run it, Michael, this is Forward to the Past.